Now that we know exactly when we should be using Kanban boards and when we shouldn't, and what best practices we should be using and what mistakes we should be avoiding, let's go into creating our first physical Kanban board. In this one, I'm going to show you how to create a physical Kanban board through something like a whiteboard, and we're going to be going into how to actually label them with different cards, as well as different strategies that you can use. First, let's talk about the benefits of simple physical Kanban boards. First off, they're extremely quick and they're very simple to track work through. If you're in a physical location, you can easily walk over to the Kanban board, no matter how big or small it is, and start moving different cards around. Because it's so streamlined, it's also great whether you're a single individual or you have a small team. If you're working in a physical location and you're looking to track your tasks through a visual board or a visual display in person, a physical Kanban board is your best bet. Additionally, you can do a lot of different color coding and visual customization. On the Kanban board that I'm going to be showing you later in this video, I actually labeled each column in different colors. Additionally, I'm going to be using different types of cards or different color cards in order to represent our tasks on our physical Kanban board. Now, in terms of color coding, you mainly want to focus on color coding for the different columns within your Kanban board, as well as the different cards or different tasks. Those are the two main areas where it makes the most sense. The fourth and final benefit to using a physical Kanban board is it's a very simple to create. All you need is some sort of physical display. You could use paper, you could use whiteboards, you can use almost anything that's physically available, meaning you can start creating your Kanban board and following along with us as we go through this video. That leads us to our exercise for this video. If you want to use a physical Kanban board, follow along with the rest of this video and implement a Kanban board for one personal, business, or work project that you currently have or that you're going to have in the near future. For example, if you want to create a simple Kanban board for some projects around your house, then just get a whiteboard, some markers, and something to represent your physical cards or your tasks. In my case, I'm going to be going through and creating a physical Kanban board on a whiteboard. And in order to represent different tasks, I'm going to be using these dry erase magnets. Now, what's important to understand is that for your Kanban board, you should add different color tasks based on people who are working on the Kanban board with you. We're now going to go into the actual process of building a physical Kanban board. If you're not interested in building a physical Kanban board, no problem. You can skip to the next video where we'll show you how to build a digital Kanban board. If you are interested in building out that physical Kanban board though, stay tuned. We're going to go into building that out right now in some best practices as well as materials that you can use for your Kanban board. Let's get into building out a physical Kanban board on a whiteboard. And in this scenario, you can follow along with us if you have a whiteboard right in front of you or a piece of paper with sticky notes, whatever you want to use to create your Kanban board. You can use almost anything. In my case, though, I'm going to be creating our Kanban board you're going to be seeing on this video with this board from Amazon. I think it was 11 or 12 bucks, as well as some dry erase magnets. You can get a wide variety of dry erase magnets on Amazon for 7 or 8 bucks. So in total, you could get a whiteboard of around this size and dry erase magnets to go with it for around $20 in total. If you need a bigger board, you might need to spend maybe $20 or $30, but overall, you don't need to spend a lot of money. And this setup that we're going to be showing you in this video is going to be extremely useful, especially if you're working in any sort of physical setting and you're not working in a remote environment. This Kanban board here you see on screen, we're going to have 3 simple columns throughout this video. We're going to have our to-do column or backlog, our in progress, as well as our done column here. We're mainly going to be working with this Kanban board from the perspective of 3 people that are working on a project to write and publish a book. You can see here we have 3 different dry erase magnets. They come in a wide variety of colors. And again, you can find these on Amazon for about 7 or 8 bucks. I've labeled each person's tasks for their color. So you can see here for Dima, we have green. For Jack, we have yellow. And for Amanda, we have blue. Now, if we were to create a few different tasks, we could have tasks for Amanda for creating the different types of graphics to go with the book. For example, the book cover, chapter 1 through 5 graphics, and chapter 6 through 10 graphics. Jack might handle the writing, so he might handle the write chapter 1 through 5, write chapter 6 through 10, write about the author section, and Jack's tasks here are in yellow, Amanda's are in blue, and Dima might be in charge of the more administrative things like registering the copyright for the book, as well as an ISBN number or identifier number for the book. And Dima's tasks here are in green. If we start moving around tasks, say that Amanda starts working on one, Jack starts working around one, and Dima starts working around one, you can see here we have each of these tasks in our in progress column, and we've set a work in progress limit of 3. Any of these tasks could be worked on. We just have that limit of 3, but because we want everyone to be working on something at once in this specific project, we're just going to assign out the create book cover. In this case, though, we want everyone to be working on something. So Amanda would start on creating the book cover first, Jack would start on writing the about the author section, and Dima would start by registering the copyright for the book. From there, as work progresses, Amanda might complete the book cover and move it to done, and Jack might complete the write about the author section here and move his task to done as well. We can see here that Amanda's tasks of creating that book cover have been moved to done, and Jack's task of writing the about the author section have also been moved to done. Additionally, the task of creating the chapter 1 through 5 graphics for Amanda has been moved from the to do into our in progress here, and the task for Dima for creating registering the ISBN for the book has been moved into in progress as well. Let's say that every in progress task is completed. We would move each of those over to the done in the right hand side, the done column there. And from here, you can see each of these tasks in the done column. From here, Jack might start on writing chapter 1 through 5, and we only have 2 more tasks in our to do or in our backlog. As you can see from our Kanban board, in this instance of us going out and starting a project for authoring a book, it's relatively simple to get started, especially if we're using a physical Kanban board. This only took me a few minutes to write all of these out on these magnets, throw them on the Kanban board or the whiteboard, and start moving things around and start visualizing where work is going. In this case, we have 3 people working on this project, so it's relatively simple. But if we had more people, we would likely need a much bigger board. This is a very simple Kanban board style because we're using a very small whiteboard in this video or in this demonstration. I actually went through and I cut up some of these magnets to fit this whiteboard. So you can also do that. You can cut sticky notes, you can cut magnets, whatever you need to be able to display the work on here, you can go ahead and do. And one last thing for this, I do recommend that you have some sort of guide of who is in charge of what tasks. So as you can see on the left-hand side on my carpet here, I just had Amanda's tasks, Jack's tasks, and Dima's tasks laid out so everyone immediately knows what color goes to what person. There's so many different other ways that we can modify Kanban boards, but this is by far one of the easiest ones and the easiest ways for us to go through and start adding some color, some flavor, start assigning out tasks, and start color coding them so they're labeled for each person. So in this case, I labeled the tasks based on who was actually doing the task. So Amanda was color coded in blue, and so on and so forth. I also wanted to show you a more advanced example of a physical Kanban board that I made here. So very similar, we have the exact same tasks, the exact same who the tasks belong to or who they're assigned to based off of color of the actual magnet. But in this case, I also added labeling or color coding to each task based on where the task belongs. Now, I don't want to confuse you too much because the version of the Kanban board that I just showed, that's by far the most simple and the easiest to implement. But I wanted to show you a little bit of a more advanced view because this is also important if you're working on larger projects or larger boards. So in this case, let me explain why I changed some of these colors here. So you can see we have different colors written on each of the magnets. So we have pink here, we have dark gray, dark gray, dark gray, and we have what I tried to do was green on some of these. It's kind of hard to read, and looking back on it with these colors, it's very difficult to kind of mix and match if you're using this color system that I did, where you're assigning tasks to people based off of colors. But I just wanted to explain that here, what I was looking to accomplish was I was looking to label tasks with a different marker color on each magnet based off of where they belonged. So for example, writing, I had labeled here in pink. And again, it's hard to tell because of all the various colors that we're using and the magnet colors, but you can see you can start labeling things very interestingly based off of color. As another example here, I did black, and in black was any sort of graphic design. So creating the book cover and creating chapters 1 through 5 graphics and chapters 6 through 10 graphics. This form of labeling starts to become very, very useful if you're looking to label tasks based off of how you want to group them. So again, I labeled the tasks based on where they were in terms of the work that needs to be done. Creating the book cover, creating the graphics, that's all sort of artistic design or graphic creation, and everyone was assigned these different tasks here. So everyone got one task for going out and creating the graphics, which is useful if everyone on the team knows how to create graphics. But for the most part, the previous board that I showed you is a little bit more applicable. I just wanted to show you a potential option that you could use if you were looking to start building out a more advanced board. Additionally, these are the magnets that I had ordered on Amazon. You can see here they come very, very large. And if you're using a small board, you would most likely have to do what I did. I cut these into 4 pieces per magnet. So you can do that. You can cut them into 4 pieces if you're using a whiteboard and you're just slapping those on there. If you have a bigger board though, you might be able to get away with just using them as is. I do recommend, if you're able to though, to cut them in half or cut them in 4 squares because two, you get a lot more use out of them and you have a lot more available. What's cool about these dry erase magnets too is you can just wipe off the marker. So when you're done with a task, if it goes into the done and it's fully complete, you can just wipe it off with a marker and then you can repurpose it and write something else on it to put it in the to-do list or into your backlog. One thing with sticky notes, though, is they can become a lot less sticky if you're moving them across multiple columns. And you also just have to throw the sticky note away when you're done with it. You can't reuse it like you can with those dry erase magnets I showed. But if you're looking for a very simple option, most people have sticky notes in an office, and you can easily start building out your Kanban board no matter what it is, whether you're using a notebook or whether you're using a large physical paper board or you're using a whiteboard. For the most part, almost any surface can be used with sticky notes. And to conclude, that's how you can build out a physical Kanban board with a whiteboard. There's so many different options and so many different ways that you can get creative with building out your Kanban board in order to maximize your team's productivity. Building out a physical Kanban board is by far one of the best things that you can do if you're working within a physical location with your team or with anyone who's going to help you on your project. In the next few videos, we're going to start looking at different examples of digital Kanban boards through Asana, Trello, as well as a real world example of how I use Kanban boards to run my social media management for my business.